Ilia Malinin struck his ending stance on the Olympic ice in Milan, and for the first time, the aura of invincibility was gone. He just looked like a shocked 21-year-old learning the harsh lesson that the universe owes nothing to genius. It is February 2026, and for 3 years, Ilia Malinin has been less of a competitor and more of a terrifying glimpse into the future of the sport. He came to the Milano Cortina Games as the two-time defending world champion, the untouchable quad god, and the man everyone expected to take the crown. He walked into the men's event riding an unstoppable winning streak that had spanned over 2 years and 14 straight contests. Then came Friday, the 13th of February, when the free skate turned into a historic collapse. Malinin had started the night in the lead. He held a comfortable 5-point cushion over Yuma Kagiyama of Japan, armed with a routine designed to shatter records with 7 quadruple jumps. However, beneath the glare of the Milan arena spotlights, the quad god proved mortal after all. The performance, intended to be a masterclass in technical firepower, simply disintegrated. His opening quadruple axel, usually money in the bank, evaporated into a single rotation. He crashed hard on a quad Lutz, and when the music finally died, he hadn't just missed the podium, he had fallen all the way to 8th place. The entire world sat in stunned silence as the broadcast zoomed in on his devastated expression in the kiss and cry area. It wasn't panic on his face. It was the gut-wrenching acceptance that a gold medal he had virtually owned for 3 years had vanished in 4.5 minutes of chaos. Yet, to really grasp the magnitude of this tragedy in Italy, you have to look back at the kid from Virginia who wasn't even meant to be on skates. The myth of Ilia Malinin wasn't forged in some elite Russian academy or a high-tech Canadian training center. It started at a run-of-the-mill community rink known as Skate Quest in Reston, Virginia. Born on December 2nd, 2004, in Fairfax, Ilia is the offspring of skating royalty, Tatiana Malinina and Roman Skorniakov. Both were Olympic competitors representing Uzbekistan at the 1998 Nagano Games and the 2002 Salt Lake City Games. His mother, Tatiana, was a force of nature in the late 90s, claiming victory at the Grand Prix final and the Four Continents Championship in 1999. His father, Roman, dominated his home country's circuit as a 7-time national champion. During his childhood, Ilia was what you would call a rink rat, though entirely by circumstance rather than desire. With his parents working long hours, coaching at SkateQuest, they had no choice but to bring him along, leaving him to do homework in the stands or sprint through the lobby. They actively tried to keep him off the ice, knowing intimately the toll the sport takes, the 5 a.m. alarms, the freezing cold facilities, the inevitable injuries, and the crushing financial burden. They steered him towards soccer and gymnastics, praying he would choose a normal life. But at 6 years old, Ilia finally wore them down. Even then, nobody was shouting prodigy. For him, it was just a fun way to kill time. He would slide around and improvise his own little routines to the background music while his mom and dad taught paying customers. It wasn't until his teenage years that his genetic inheritance suddenly activated, and he started knocking out triple jumps with confusing ease. His parents realized their son possessed a natural rotational velocity and air awareness that simply couldn't be taught. By age 14, the after-school hobbyist was prepared to challenge the planet. Yet what makes Malinin so fascinating is his insistence on being a regular kid. While his global competitors lived in training bubbles, Ilia was attending George C. Marshall High School in Falls Church, refusing the homeschooling route most elite athletes take. He went to class in the morning, grabbed burgers at Five Guys with his buddies, and then drove himself to the rink for a 4-hour grind. Ilia approaches the ice like a physics major. He sees skating less as an art form and more as a mechanical equation, frequently discussing torque and axis of rotation during press conferences. Where others talk about emotional connection to the music, Ilia discusses the kinetic efficiency of spinning faster. After graduating from Marshall in 2023, he enrolled at George Mason University, where he is currently pursuing exploratory studies in humanities and social sciences. That analytical mindset is exactly how he hacked the sport of figure skating. He understood that the quadruple axel, a jump deemed impossible, was just a math problem regarding airtime and maintaining rotational speed. While everyone else was trying to launch upward, Ilia figured out the mechanics of launching around. Being left off the 2022 Olympic team by one spot was the snub that lit a fire under him. As the skating world rested after the Beijing Games, Ilia was back in Virginia, obsessed with mastering a move no human had ever landed. Then, in September 2022, at a low-key event in Lake Placid, he finally made history. The 4.5 rotation quadruple axel had graduated from hypothetical physics to cold, hard reality. From 2023 through early 2026, Ilia Malinin was untouchable, snatching back-to-back world crowns in Montreal and Boston. During the 2024 World Championships, he shattered the ceiling with a record-breaking free skate score of 227.79. He landed 6 quadruple jumps with surgical precision, turning the competition into a one-man exhibition of dominance. History was made as he became the solitary figure to execute every single quadruple variation in a tournament setting. Branding himself the Quad God on social media wasn't just a username. It was a bold declaration of war on the sport's technical limits. He was the Michael Jordan of the rink, undefeated, unreachable, and apparently made of iron. With his parents, Tatiana and Roman, cornering him, the family dynasty secured the best coaching honors in 2025. They guided his metamorphosis from a pure jumping machine into a nuanced, complete artist. He poured energy into his couture, choreography, and stage presence, determined to gag the critics who claimed he lacked soul. By the time his wheels touched down in Milan for the 2026 Games, he wasn't just wearing the Team USA jacket, he was the poster boy for skating's future. His opening week at the Milano Cortina Games felt less like a competition and more like a royal coronation. In the team battle, Malinin was the bedrock the United States leaned on to lock down a second straight Olympic gold. The Americans became the first nation to defend that title, and it was Malinin who delivered the fatal blow to their rivals. During the men's free skate segment, he posted a massive 200.03, muscling through a mid-routine error to seal the victory. But the headline wasn't the points, it was the backflip. Malinin executed the first legal backflip in Olympic history since the ban was lifted, stunning the judges. The Milano crowd erupted. He looked relaxed and ecstatic, wearing gold before the singles tournament even began. Speaking to the press, he acknowledged that he knew he was the kingmaker for the team. He claimed he shoved the nerves aside to have fun, but that smile might have been a fragile mask. Behind the curtain, the Olympic pressure cooker was boiling over. Rumors swirled that he was doom-scrolling TikTok at 3 in the morning during fight week, unable to sleep under the crushing weight of the world's eyes. The Quad God was beginning to crack under the burden of being the surest bet in sports. Then came the solo event. Tuesday's short program saw a calculated performance as he shelved the risky Quad Axel to guarantee a clean sheet. The strategy paid off, vaulting him to the top of the leaderboard with a score of 108.16. He sat in the driver's seat heading into the decisive free skate on Friday, February 13th. But when he took the ice, the autopilot failed, the music swelled, featuring his own voice, but the explosion never came. He bailed on the opening Quad Axel, reducing it to a single and hemorrhaging nearly 12 points in a heartbeat. He crashed on a quad Lutz and scrambled a combination. The aura of invincibility dissolved into total chaos. He plummeted to 8th place, watching his friend and rival Mikhail Shidorov snatch the gold. The arena was stunned. Experts like Tara Lipinski and Johnny Weir noted the collapse wasn't physical. It was a psychological implosion. The Quad God had finally found his limit. In the media zone, Malinin whispered the word pressure repeatedly, admitting he had choked. He was devoured by the revolution. He sparked a game where high risks mean one slip can shatter a career's ambition in seconds. So, where does the fallen star go from here? 2026 didn't bring individual glory, but it delivered a brutal, necessary lesson. Prepare for the worst, because failure teaches you more than winning, he told CBS, vowing to compete at the Worlds in Prague this March. He frames it as a shot at redemption. But his eyes are locked on the horizon, the quintuple jump. He confirms he is chasing 5 full rotations. He claims he is on the brink of history, aiming to unveil the jump by the 2027 season. Legends like Patrick Chan believe his slender frame is the perfect vessel for that level of aerial physics. The true comeback story is set for the 2030 Winter Olympics in the French Alps, when he will be 25. He has 4 years to forge unbreakable mental armor, balancing his alien technical skill with the consistency of a champion. Ilia Malinin missed the individual gold in 2026, but his story is far from over. Yet, he achieved a victory far more profound. He bared his mortality. He proved that legends stumble, and the march toward 2030 demands the sheer grit to rise from the ashes. Do not be fooled, this technical evolution has barely begun to breathe. The quintuple awaits, and the crusade for vindication ignites in the heart of Prague.